If your car is acting strange, stalling, shifting rough, or refusing to start, the problem might not be the engine itself, but the brain that controls it. And when that brain starts to fail, it can leave you stranded without warning. The Engine Control Module, or ECM, manages almost everything your engine does, from fuel delivery to spark timing to emissions control. It takes data from dozens of sensors and makes split-second decisions to keep your car running smoothly. But when the ECM goes bad, those decisions turn into mistakes, and your car starts showing warning signs you can't ignore. Today, we'll go over 8 clear symptoms of a failing ECM, what causes them, and what you can do about it, so you can spot the problem before it leaves you on the side of the road. Symptom number 1. Check engine light that won't go away. The check engine light is on, and even after replacing sensors or fixing wiring issues, it refuses to turn off. A failing ECM can send or store incorrect trouble codes, especially internal fault codes like P0601 to P0606. These indicate memory or processor errors inside the module, not an issue with the sensor itself. Before replacing the ECM, check for power and ground at the module, inspect connectors for corrosion or water damage, and verify the codes with a scan tool. If those check out, the ECM may need reprogramming or replacement. Symptom number 2. Crank, but no start. You turn the key, the engine cranks like normal, but it never actually fires up. The ECM controls fuel injectors and ignition timing. If it can't read critical inputs like the crankshaft position or throttle position, or if it's failing internally, it won't send the correct signals to fire the injectors or spark plugs. Without that, the engine can't start. First, rule out battery, starter, and fuel delivery issues. Then, use a scan tool to see if the ECM is receiving RPM data during cranking. If there's no reading and wiring is intact, the ECM could be the culprit. Symptom number 3. Random stalling while driving. The engine suddenly shuts off while you're driving, often without any warning. Sometimes it restarts right away, other times you're stuck until it cools down. A failing ECM can momentarily lose its ability to manage spark timing or fuel delivery. Even a brief loss of these commands will kill the engine. Heat, internal circuit cracks, or failing capacitors inside the ECM can trigger this at random. Inspect the ECM's power and ground connections, especially for loose terminals that might cut power on bumps. If wiring checks out, an ECM bench test or swap with a known good unit can confirm the fault. Symptom number 4. Reduced power or limp mode. Your car suddenly feels sluggish, refuses to accelerate past a certain speed, and may show a reduced engine power message. The ECM constantly compares throttle input with data from sensors like the mass airflow and manifold pressure sensors. If it detects conflicting readings, or sends bad throttle commands due to internal faults, it can trigger limp mode to protect the engine and transmission. Scan for throttle-related codes and inspect the throttle body for buildup or damage. If the sensor readings are fine, but limp mode still kicks in, an ECM reflash or replacement may be required. Symptom number 5. Erratic or delayed shifting. Automatic gear changes feel harsh, delayed, or unpredictable. Sometimes the car holds a gear too long, other times it jerks into the next one. The transmission control module relies on throttle position, engine load, and RPM data from the ECM to decide when to shift. If the ECM sends inaccurate or inconsistent data, the TCM makes poor shift decisions, leading to rough or late shifts. Check transmission fluid level and condition first, then scan for both ECM and TCM codes. If the transmission tests fine mechanically, but shifting issues persist, the ECM may be providing bad data and require repair or replacement. Symptom number 6. Multiple unrelated sensor codes. You scan the car and find several trouble codes for different sensors, maybe the oxygen sensor, throttle position sensor, and coolant temp sensor all at once. You replace them or check their wiring, but the codes keep coming back. A failing ECM can misread or corrupt sensor signals, causing it to think multiple components are bad when they're actually fine. Internal circuit faults or failing processors can scramble the data before it's processed. Verify each sensor's output with a multimeter or scan tool. If readings are normal, but codes persist across different systems, it's a strong sign the ECM is the source of the false errors. Symptom number 7. Failed emissions tests or monitors stuck, not ready. You take your car for a smog or emissions test and it fails. not because of high emissions, but because the readiness monitors never complete. Even after days of driving, they still show not ready on a scan tool. The ECM runs self-checks for emissions systems like the catalytic converter and evap system. If it can't complete these tests, due to corrupted software, bad internal memory, or poor sensor data processing, the monitors stay incomplete, and you fail inspection. Check for stored or pending ECM-related codes, and verify all required drive cycle conditions have been met. If everything else is in order, the ECM may need a reflash or replacement to restore monitor function. Symptom number 8. Unstable idle and strange accessory behavior. The engine idles too high, too low, or hunts up and down for no reason. You might also notice odd behaviors like cooling fans running at full speed even when the engine is cold, or the AC cutting in and out randomly. The ECM controls idle speed through the idle air control system and also sends commands to various accessories. If it's failing, it may misread sensor inputs or output erratic control signals, leading to unstable idle and accessory glitches. First, rule out vacuum leaks and faulty idle control valves. If those check out and you see unrelated accessory issues happening together, it's worth testing the ECM's outputs and considering a reflash or replacement. Have you ever dealt with a bad ECM? Drop your experience in the comments. Your story might help another driver out there. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to The Auto Mechanic, and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next car troubleshooting guide.